Well, good evening and welcome to the coffee chat. I used to do this a long time ago, but it was when we were in person and I would do like little mini interviews and that type of thing. So now we've hyped it up for the COVID 19 and this COVID 19 version of having coffee with Aeson. And with us tonight is, of course, the other West Virginia psychic, Dottie the psychic. How are you, darling?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I've ignored my dog. He's been fed and watered. He has gone outside. He just wants attention.
He's pouting like he always does when I come around. Like, I swear, he just wants me to come pet him.
Yes. Come here, dog. If you want me to pet you, you're gonna have to come. He doesn't want. Yeah, but he doesn't want to come to you for pets. He wants you to go to him.
Yeah, it don't work, especially right now because we're not really sure if dogs are carriers or not with this crap. So, how's COVID really changed your psychic business?
Well, I actually don't do a whole lot of readings right now because I'm not, believe it or not, social media is not my nature, not in my nature. So I've kind of developed that over the COVID. So I really haven't been doing any readings. I've been doing a whole lot more YouTube and kind of explaining how being a psychic works, and I have actually been doing any paid psychic work. Obviously, I do my personal practice, but
and that's been a lot. Some people, especially the ones that are pivoted, focused on fairs and stuff, has been greatly affected.
Yeah.
For me, my business model has always been Coke. How many forms can we get me in, and which locations can we put me in? And that's been really helpful for me because I've been able to pivot. I went from doing online readings, private appointments, office appointments, fairs, festivals, YouTube.
Yeah, that's all the stuff. Like the fairs and the festivals were a huge thing for me. Not just for the readings themselves, but also a lot of times that's where I would advertise my YouTube channel. That's where I got, most of my viewers.
Right.
They started off as somebody who met me dancing around in one of my fancy wigs, and I told them about my YouTube channel, and then they're hooked. That's where I get them.
Right. And, Ashley, hi, darling. How are you? And that's a difference, I think, between the two of us. Is, I do a lot of social, computer, that type of thing. I think you probably have mediumship skills, honey, because I've seen you fight with technology, and I'm like, if she doesn't go get training for mediumship, she needs to get a house thrown on her.
Who, me or Ashley?
You.
Me? Oh yeah, no, that's straight up my phone. We've come to the sooner I learn to just go ahead and accept that my electronics will be mildly possessed within a week of my possession, the sooner I can just go ahead and just learn to work with it. Like my computer, I've learned I try to be nice to Alexa because that bitch can come for me any day. And she's got me where she wants me. So I'd be nice. I'll be nice to her. Once I learned to negotiate with them like I would any other spirit, they seem to work much better. My phone's lasted me almost 2 years, which is stellar for a cell phone. It's glitchy as I am, but it works.
Well, yeah, but some tips that I use. Hi, Emily. Agreed. 2020. I think everyone just toasted their planner. My planner, I literally just took it back apart, threw that away, put it in the next happy planner, and went, okay, we're going with this business model. What I do is I keep hematite and amethyst on each side of my computers. It seems to control the polarity and not affect the quartz crystals. Phones, if they last a year, they're doing great. That's why I don't buy myself a new phone. I'll take the one from Techie Joe because then at least it has gotten some life cycle.
Right, yeah. That way it's not that way you don't feel so burnt up when you're you can't buy, if you have mediumship abilities, do not go out and get the next big phone. It's not going to last you long enough to justify the expense.
Exactly.
You're paying for that thing 3 years after it is completely dead. It's just funny because you think that is so computers are literally opposite of my nature. But I went actually to try and get a networking engineer degree. I did not get that degree.
Well, I don't think that they're opposite of your nature. I think they're very much part of your nature. Because if you realize that computers are made out of golden quartz, that's pure energy. The internet is definitely a psychic energy being conveyed through one thing or another. So it's a frequency thing with mediums because we haven't gotten into quantum computers yet, where mediums can just interact.
Yeah, you almost have to tone it down to get a computer. You know what? You say that, but I know tech magicians, people who have so incorporated the computer into their practice that it's almost like, all right, Neo. I've got a dear friend who's been his computer was always full. He kept his computer full the way he kept his mind full.
Mm-hmm.
And he would do he would almost transgress, he would be part of these online covens and things. And he would set up times and they would go to an astral space and they would be chatting online and then creating this astral space. And I'm like, okay,
yeah, there's a lovely Second Life circle all pre-set up for you. You can just go there and have circle. And I've done that before, and that's fun. Literally, and you guys see in our intro, of course, I'm a Second Life player. I love my Second Life. I have my whole Second Life world going on. It's kept me sane this past year.
I have never been able to do video games. I will do this thing, and because mental health, that's apparently that's my gig. Mental health and the psychic world, psychos, and psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be on? Yeah, that's a great video title. I'll have to remember. I'm going to watch this later. I've gotten in the habit of watching my live streams later. So all these great ideas I have at the drop of the hat, I can go back and write them down. Just start a script. My Google Docs is littered with these titles and then blank document where I've had this great idea for a title and then
See, with that, when I do that, I just sit down, open up the planner. All right, on Monday, we're going to film how to do a tea reading reverse and just move on and just plan it into my day.
Right. I try to, I've been trying to really make it a habit of sitting down and working on my scripts because, that's the difference between your style and my style, where you do more of the podcast style. I'm sure this show does really, really well on podcasts.
It doesn't. It'll be your podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but mine
goes out on Spotify.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can do, and live streams. People like live streams, but a lot of things that I really love to do, the things that I am most proud of, I have gone through and scripted. So I have to write out that script right now. I've dropped the C note. You see this thing right back here? That thing hanging there? That is part of a coat. That is one piece of an outfit I have dropped a C note on. That is going to be in a Tessiomancy video for maybe 5 minutes.
But then you got to learn to recycle that.
Right. Well, I've already got another plan for it. It's not like it's just going to go in a closet and be forgotten. I also do the SCA, so all my historical garb is going to be reused, which is also part of why I get into it. I'm I always like to look at the history of divination. Let's take it back as far as we can document it. We know it goes back to the beginning, but where is the first person to write about it?
Right. Well, it's like tarot. It's one of those, it came up in... No, it didn't. It came all the way from India. And then we have it tactically documented in Egypt. But they weren't using paper cards at that time. They were using dies.
Well, that is a different type of divination, though. You think about it. I know that when I think of tarot, here's one that gets me. People think that the development of the tarot deck and the development of the poker deck are separate.
No.
Not really. Yeah, there's no reason to think that they were. If you think that a poker deck is part of the tarot deck, so whether the tarot deck or the poker deck came first is kind of up for debate, but they obviously evolved in a somewhat similar way.
Yeah, they are. Well, actually, they probably evolved at the same time. The only difference there is, especially the tarot deck we have now, the tarot, Rider-Waite and or Thoth wasn't developed in the 1900s. But the problem is with those decks, they can't go back to before that, because what happened then was we had Rider and White going through and collecting people's decks that were all
Right.
different. We had, Thoth, Aleister Crowley, and his wife channeling information for each card. That's why that deck. I'm developing a class just for that deck. It's psychology out the yazoo.
Right. I mean, you could do I could easily do a video on just the history of that deck. Not, I could skim over the characters involved. I could skim over the structure of the deck and still have 45-minute video.
Yeah. Do a course. It'll be easier. Especially with because and people go, oh, if you can read Rider Waite, you can read Thoth. No, you can't.
I don't know, because I'm like, if I don't know what the meaning of a card is, a lot of times I'll just try and tap in or make it up, so it makes it easier to read just about any form. But I do agree that they are not at all the same deck.
No. It's like one of the pre-Rider Waite decks had a card called the Key in it. And I got to look at the deck and look at the documentation of this deck. The reason it wasn't added into Rider Waite was the Key was only found by 2 users. Like 2 users had that card in their deck. Because originally the Major Arcana was a full suit.
Right.
By itself.
Was it? I mean, if you go back to the 1400s, I cannot remember. I think the name of the game is Trumps, and I really, really want to see if I can find the rules, because I've played it once or twice. But it started as an Italian Renaissance card game, so it would make sense that if you don't have the technology to spread something that's standardized, a lot of these decks are made individually, so that it makes sense that the Major Arcana may have not a completely different structure, but it's going to vary from household to household.
Right,
these are
very much so, because it was hand copied.
Right, from artist to artist, and
right, person to person, and they weren't even artisans. I mean, you guys think of the kids drawing pictures on the you stick up on your fridge. That's the way the tarot was developed, literally from one person to another.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to be a rich family to own a tarot deck, because the materials involved.
Paper, expensive.
Very.
Very expensive, unless you made it yourself and, sat there and mixed it yourself. But the skill set alone, some of the artistry that we have, and some of the decks that they have found in, and this is the reason why, and I'm glad you brought up the game Trumps.
Thank you, Ashley, by the way.
Yeah, the game Trumps was a cover, because during that time, if you were caught predicting fortune, off to the gallows or off to
the Inquisition.
The
Inquisition.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're recovered, because you were struggling when we were over at your place.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, oh, you know what? I was like, nobody picked it up. I'm like, this is meme worthy. I had a whole Grandma Rutabaga set up, like. Then that voice was going. I'm like, you know how sometimes when you get a sore voice, it's kind of a sexy voice? Well, mine was kind of old lady voice. I'm like, Grandma Rutabagas had enough. I was like, I mean, I'm glad it wasn't any worse than it was, because I have a friend who had another friend who was sick with it at basically the same time and ended up with double pneumonia in the hospital.
Very, very bad.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I got through okay. Everybody was freaked out when I got it, but I was okay. And we were fortunate enough, my aunt got it and had like nothing. She's like, I tore carpet up in my room and I had a bit of a sinus issue. Like, I thought I was dying.
But, that kind of transitions into other things. Question, in your travels, have you noticed that psychics all have like some common issue? It's normally an immunity problem.
Yes, actually, I've noticed there's it's either some sort of autoimmune disorder, like they eat themselves, And also not only notice that, but those are people who are very quiet and like you don't see them being very aggressive in their beliefs. And then there's also like there's some level of psychosis. Like that's the other one. I know people who have psychic abilities who a lot of us have attention deficit disorder and like soul crushing depression sometimes. I don't know why these seem to go together, but maybe it's just that like we don't, I guess it's a product only being partially in this world.
Very much
when your left foot's on, the astral field, it's kind of hard to relate to people down here on the ground. And I mean, that's been part of my life path is to understand the very bottom. I mean, it makes sense that the nursing home, now community outreach, my own personal nervous breakdown has brought me to a very humble place so that I can look at people on an even level.
Right. Well, that's why I say, like, psychic lives are never easy. Like, when our memoirs are finally come out, I'm working on a book called Jezebel. You're working, I'm sure, on a few books. It'll be like, my God, you're psychic. Why didn't you know that? Yeah, but we've got to relate to this shit.
Just because you know it doesn't mean just because you know the train's coming doesn't mean you can get out of the tunnel fast enough, okay? You may see the light, but it doesn't mean you can move fast enough to get out of the way.
No, you can't. And I think that, and you bring up the attention deficit disorder, I really have it. That's why I have probably so many coping mechanisms already built in, like the planner that I am literally addicted to. Everything is organized, everything is structured. I don't trust that. I've broken and blown up too many of them. I will lose it.
You know what? So far, partially because I have become so absorbed in. See, I've always had this ability, but Dottie, I almost consider Dottie the psychic is almost a character. When I started her, it was to go from where I was to where I wanted to be. This is my exalted form. Like I created Dottie the psychic. She's honest, she's kind, she's out there. She's she's ecstatic to see good people. She is, she's always on.
Right.
Not always on, but and this is not always my, my one. This is not 100% me. This is an edited version. This is the exalted form. So if I learned Dottie the psychic has to use her cell phone because Dottie the psychic is on Facebook. She's on YouTube. And Dottie the psychic has to keep a schedule because Dottie the psychic is on time.
Yes, and cannot be late. That drives me crazy when people are late. It's like, excuse me, if I am going to come into, get back to being in this body, which takes me a good 2 pots of coffee, and show up one time bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, bring it on.
Right. I have to set my alarm goes off about a half an hour before I actually have to get out of bed because, I need to take a half an hour and just either process whatever the hell was going on last night or just, come back to earth.
And re-theorize the whole idea of being here.
Right. This is one of the things. Do you notice that people in the psychic world seem to have more sleep disturbances? Like they have trouble sleeping. A lot of them.
I find that is with people who are stuck into not having their natural sleep rhythm. Example being forced into daytime when you're naturally a nighttime person.
Yeah.
Or the reverse. Or, for me, if I get 4 hours sleep, that's a good night. If I get 5 hours, oh my God, I've overslept and I feel like crap. But I can do 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening, and I'm fine. But that's a natural sleep rhythm.
You know what? If that works for you, that works for you. Because I used to be a night shift nurse, which I was a night shift nurse for 2 years. If you want to talk about something that's going to leave a mark on your soul, if you look deep in my eyes, you can see those 2 years of being a night shift nurse. I came this close to being diagnosed as narcoleptic because when it got dark, during that time period, when it got dark, I would pass out at the wheel. I'd have to take I called it like a 10-second nap. Where my brain would just have to go. I'd have to go and stop just close my eyes for about 10 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was fine.
Right.
And the truth is, though, I sleep. Dog, I can't even with him.
Fine. He's fine.
He just wants to make his opinion known.
He's one of the most talkative puppies. He'll be fine. You'll have to bring him to a festival, though. So I can,
I don't know how he would do at the festival. Like, he's an old country dog. Like, he's my divorce baby. I brought him from, like, the wood. He came from Jackson County with me, you know?
Aw.
Yeah, he's... you know what, though? He's a great familiar. He brought me a vulture feather one time. One of those big, long... Actually, I got it still. I'll show you. Yeah. Look at that. He just had it, carried it up in his mouth.
Uh-huh.
Give it right to me. No, I'm not going. I'm on a live stream, dog. He is the talking dog. He will make himself understood. Come here. You know what? We've talked enough about him. Is that better? Sorry, I got to pay attention to my dog for a second. There you go. Are you better?
All right, honey.
There you go. And then Peanut. You can see her, like, there she is. Can you see her? That is not Peanut. There's Luther.
Yeah. Luther's the one as always, let's talk, let's hang out. Come on, dude. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me.
This is him pouting.
He is pouting.
Straight pout. Sorry, I know that's ADD in action. I'm like, it's like this is what I would imagine being around Robin Williams would be. Like, the older I get, the closer to, like, being like Robin Williams I get.
I miss him so much in his comedy.
Yeah, you know what? The thing I loved his more romantic movies. Like, those are things like, yes, he was a very funny person. He was on, ready to go. And apparently that was just him. But one of my favorite movies that he did was What Dreams May Come.
Mm-hmm.
Where he explored, our concepts of the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it really struck some deep issues.
Right.
That realistically have affected how I've shaped my view of the afterlife still to this day. I'm like, I can't remember what the art he had that, like, he based a lot of around. Like, I wish I could find those, that thing the daughter had with the puppets and someday in the vague and distant future.
Well, and it'll happen. You know, if you search for it long enough, it'll come up into your face. So who inspires you in the psychic business?
In the psychic business? Mucho amor. If you get a chance to watch Mucho Amor on Netflix, life fucking goals there. I mean, what is his name? Something, I can't remember his name, but the guy actually did, he was like Latin, he was the Latin speaking, or the Spanish speaking psychic for the Americas, like South America, North America. If you were in a Spanish speaking country, then you would know who I'm talking about, even though I obviously don't. And I want to go look up that name right now.
Well, that's okay.
But he made, not only did he make a career of it, but he was just like a good person. You know, he had these grand costumes, these capes, and oh my god, I'm gonna have to take a second and figure out what that name is. Stall for me.
Walter Mercado.
Yes, Walter Mercado.
Cool.
It's just like, and he had all this plastic surgery, and they just, I mean,
he just done it up, and he done up a lot of things that brought out in that showman side of psychic business. There is a showman side of psychic business, and that's been an inherent trait of it. That I'm like, not my gig, but okay.
Right. I love the showmanship. Like, and it's one of the things that I know that some psychics really get kind of pissy with me when I'm like, I call myself a fortune teller. Because in some ways it really is, it's part show.
Yeah.
you're trying to sell something to people. You're trying to, I mean, you are selling the light that everybody can reach, and like, but you are trying to, you know,
Right. And I get that point
memorize it.
a lot in business. And, it took a little bit, I think, with my current partner, Joe, to, get him to understand that no, there is show Aeson and there is home Aeson and there is work Aeson. And they're all three different. At the show, I am the Queen Diva. I ain't taking shit. I will knock people over if they step on my stage. There is a good bit of show behind it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to fill in the place. You know what, though? A lot of the things that I have done as, Dottie the Psychic, the exalted Dottie the Psychic, I have actually totally taken into my real life.
Right.
Like, if you watch 2 or 3 of my videos, you're going to be able to pick my crazy ass out of a crowd. Pretty easily.
Right.
Like, that's just...
It happens. It's part of it. And then, from me, one of my, has always been Sylvia Brown. And then when we go even farther back, I really like the career of Doreen Virtue and looking at her showmanship and how she done things. It's 2 different spectrums, but it's the same gig.
Right. I grew up with Sylvia Brown, and she really was like her and, Miss Cleo.
Virginia, please. She wasn't even a psychic. She was a hired actress. I was in the meeting when we were discussing exactly what her role would be. She was a hired actress. It's like me going and hiring I'm going to pick on you, Ashley. Pick on Ashley. Hiring Ashley to do commercials for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was part of the showmanship. So I don't know. That always, like, between the 2 of them, like, I know a lot of people really, really love Sylvia Brown. But
business sense.
She didn't, I mean, she was a businesswoman. Her readings would be $400 for a single session.
No, that's her son's price. Her readings are $800 for 20 minutes.
Damn.
20 minutes.
And she could do that.
Yeah, she could do that. She had, actually, there are still like 5 to 7 books that haven't been released from Hay House. And as long as she was not in a relationship, that woman was a hard businesswoman. Her son, Chris Dufane, which I still follow, he's $350 for 15 minutes, $150 for a question. And I'm like,
it's great money if you can get it. I don't know why you think you're worth that, but if you can get it, go for it. People buy.
Well, yeah, people buy, but at the same time, it's not a question of worth. I've always battled with that too, of worth, because I believe I'm an amazing psychic at $1,000 an hour, but I'm still a great psychic at $451 a minute.
Yeah. $451 a minute. Look, I can never. If it gets to the point where I need a job and I got to go back to the lines, I'm doing dirty talk. I'm not going back to the psychic hotlines. I just can't.
Honey, I love my clients on the lines, and that $451 actually translates into $1.87 a minute once we pay network fees, advertisement, and all that.
Is it your line, or is it like one of those national, I don't tell them what my real name is lines?
It's I work on Keen.com. You can find Aeson Knight at Keen.com. Granted, I'm on 11 other networks, and Keen's the one.
Yeah, I'm going to try in that one. Okay, so you and I have been on 2 different hotlines then.
Yes, I work only independent real lines.
Right. Okay. Well, that's the thing, because I mean, it was an amateur mistake. We all do it. We all make our little mistakes when we're first starting out. And mine.
Tell me you're right, and I'll tell you which network you're on. I bet.
My name was Luna Soul.
No, honey. How much was you making per minute?
60 cents a minute.
Circle of Stars.
And they were charging like 4, huh?
Circle of Stars.
You know what? I can't remember, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
It could be. It could
Yeah,
be. I
it's
would think it
what
was.
I call a slave network. You have to talk 1,800 minutes before you can get a paycheck. Um, and they will charge up to $13.75 per minute.
Yeah, they would. Now, I don't think. I don't think that was it because I got paid. Um, like if I only talked 20 minutes, I only got 20 minutes worth of. Like I couldn't. It was at a bad point in my life. Like it was one of those things. I was mid breakdown. This was during my
You should
breakdown
have been
period.
reading.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have been reading to begin with. Like, it had the little text box. I will never forget that stupid text box.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if Facebook can have a camera, even back then, this was not that long ago, there's no reason to have a text box that only has black and white text and no emojis and nothing. I'm trying to overtalk
That's
my
because
dog.
of all the gateways that were put in. It's like one of my networks has finally started offering video readings. There's a problem though, readers don't want to do video readings. I'm like, why? How bad is your office?
Right? Like, if you're going to spend $4.50 a minute, then don't you at least want to talk to somebody, you know?
Right. Well, I enjoy talking. I love the texting. I enjoy video. That's why I'm starting to, I've got Zoom readings up on my private site. I've got, of course, the phone appointments now. I'm using Audacity. I love that because I can play with it and have fun. But then I've also got the networks because there's sometimes that you need a reading now. You don't need to wait till tomorrow at 4 o'clock for my appointment time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's always been my thing about doing buttons and having the call buttons there is it's on demand.
Yeah, I mean, that is I don't know why, but in my life experience, I've noticed that the call girl kind of phone lines, the dirty talk lines, kind of go almost parallel to the psychic lines.
They do because they were in the same industry for a very long time.
Yeah, it's like the more well done the cam girl video thing is going, the better the psychic thing goes. I'm like,
well, it's because of our business description. Our business description is adult entertainment.
That's probably it. I mean, my show is definitely adult, but so you have a question for me?
Yeah.
Tacomancy. You know what? Feel like that's an off branch of kitchen witchery right there.
Tacomancy, go ahead, pop the question. If she feels like answering it, she can. And while we're waiting for that to come through, who else do you look up to?
ContraPoints. My uncle mentioned to me the other. Actually, you know what? My father. Like, this is how I've always kind of guided my spirituality. I didn't realize until I was older how much I really still use the logic that my father gave me.
Okay.
Like even picking out a faith system. Like the reason I was kind of lean towards, I like Western occultism, but I can't keep up with all the ritual and the books. So that's why I'm a chaos magics, because I don't like all the books. It just doesn't fit into me.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole idea of there being two pillars, one of mercy and one of severity, it kind of goes with a whole. My daddy always told me he had two morals. He told me to be honest and kind. Those were the only two morals he had, and everything else, try to keep it between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I really liked that aspect. That whole idea of the middle pillar, trying to attain this balance of not only being honest and kind with the world, but also with yourself.
Right. That's very much the, high priestess modeling there for sure.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Oh God, no, you're fine. I swear you will be all right. Come here, baby. Is it that bad? Is it that terrible?
Aww.
I can't help it. He is white. I don't know if anybody else can hear him. It's like a high-pitched squeal. Yes, I loves it. Here, you want to say hi to people? Here, come here. He's like, nope. I know better. Oh. Yes, everybody can hear you. Thank you very much.
See, he's got to answer questions too.
He does. This is, you know what? No, now you're gonna hide. Now he's hiding behind the chair. Like, whatever. Okay. Would you make out with this fine gentleman if it were just you and him in the room during New Year's? He's a I thought you're homosexual, right?
Yes.
So I guess the answer is no. I mean, I'm pansexual. I mean, I'm not opposed on any moral basis. I never thought I was your type. I have been called a bit mannish, but I've never gone that far.
Okay, we're ending that.
Who's Taco-mancy anyway?
I have not a clue. It's a person from Twitch. No, we're not answering his follow-up.
The answer is probably no, then. You're going to have to come at me with a little more finesse. I'm having this trouble with Facebook dating. Look, I know the sex is kind of the end game, but I need just a little finesse. I am no longer in my early 20s. You got to put some spit on it.
That's some bad pickup lines, by the way.
I don't like this in real life. You've met me in real life.
Yeah, but we get this. I get this all the time. You get this all the time. I don't understand how it goes together or why people do this. But
I don't know.
I was counting up the other day. It's been near 30 years since I was single, like totally single. And even then, I wore a wedding band.
I didn't have any trouble until I left my ex, because traditionally, with very, very few exceptions, I was the wife of the biggest asshole at the bar. So once or twice, somebody got up the cojones to come and speak to me. So when I come back out into the real world, I was kind of repressed. Like, that's not my family's fault. I don't know what happened there. But of all the Sarahs, I was like the most like in my shell. Went straight in. Like, I had like 1 or 2 years as a party girl. And then I got married. So when I came out, I didn't know how to handle it. Like, I don't know what to do with these people. I'm like, throwing it at me, guys, but I'm not catching what you're tossing. I still have issues, like, when it gets to like people being intimate. Like, I'm just like I just don't know what to do. Like, what's the socially appropriate thing to do here? I'm like, what do you know? What do you care? What's socially appropriate?
Yeah. And, for me, and it's always been my view, it's like, no, I'm going over here, thanks. But no, what are some of the fun things you think of being a psychic?
As being a psychic, you know what? I love going to events. Like, you tap in, like, and doing like the group rituals. They're always they're a little on the corny side. They're always a little bit, they're always love and light.
Right.
Which is a good thing. I mean, as a group thing, but I just kind of dig that, getting into that energetic flow. I don't know. That's a big question. That is a bigger question than I could sit here and I could sit here and take a while to answer that. Because what's my favorite part of being a psychic is just, it's such an integral part of my life. I wouldn't know what was separate from being a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
One of my least favorite parts is burnout.
You know how to take care of that, right? You turn off your computers, you walk out of the office.
I sew.
You sew. I cook. Like, they can all tell when it's been a bad night at work because they wake up and there's cookies laid out and there's rolls made and there's homemade bread made and there's a cake or two in the oven. Yeah, they're like, it was a bad night last night. He got a client that hadn't talked to somebody in 10 years. Call him up and go, is such and such going to call me?
No, the answer is no. Okay, so I totally brought this up on the last live stream. My sister sent me a meme, and every chance I get to talk about it, I do. My sister sent me this meme. It is tarot cards, and the first I look at it, I'm trying to interpret the spread, and then I like take that look out. It says, "Get rid of him." Or dump him or something like that. I'm like,
yeah, it's dump
him in a minute, because as somebody who reads tarot cards, I'm like, I'm trying to interpret the spread and where things are next to each other, and I'm like, take a look out, zoom out for a second.
All right, so Emily has a question. Her son just started going back to physical school. Do you see this continuing, or are we seeing things going back to full online again? You want to take this, or I'll take it?
This is one of those Sylvia Brown kind of questions that I always kind of hesitate to answer, because it takes an honest answer is going to require some education about how the system works. Honestly, it would be probably smarter if they did go back to being online, because I know right now we're like being swept.
So with the sun and moon coming together, that's a pairing of male and female. And then we have followed up by the Four of Wands. I say that you will probably be back online only within 3 weeks. Until we get more vaccines.
You know what? I think that's a safe prediction.
Yeah.
Just to look at the situation. I always hesitate to answer these kind of questions because I don't want people going to psychics for health problems. I don't want people going to psychics for legal advice. Like, if you want to know if you should go to a lawyer or a doctor, maybe then call a psychic, and I would be glad to direct you. Because if you need to call me to ask me about that pain in your chest, you need to go to the doctor. Right. You know what I mean?
But on the other side of that, and granted, we are not physicians, we are not lawyers. We have a lovely disclaimer at the bottom of my website. Go down there and find it. But I have brought stuff up in reading. Some people come back and go, yeah, that issue you were talking about, you were so right. And I'm like, yeah.
I have too.
Well, it's like you have this story of reading for a lady in the bar, and I'm like, I've been there. I've been there.
That's one story. That is one story. That is the one that really totally blew my mind. This was happening on a semi-regular basis. Not just that. I had another lady. 6 months after that, I got the caduceus again. She says, and she's like, she's real quiet, and her friend's like, is there something wrong? And the friend is like reading her face. And seeing that there's something wrong. This friend sees very much that I've struck a nerve, and so the friend starts freaking out, and the first one that I was reading for says, yes, I have ovarian cancer. I don't know if I'm going to survive. You know, and what do you deal with that? What do you do with that? That's one of those questions, like, as a psychic, I'm going to try and give you the truest answer I can. As a human being, I don't want to in any way dissuade you from taking care of yourself.
Right. And, you know, with that, I always follow up with follow your doctor. Emily, I'm going to say this, and it'll probably sound a little bit out there, but as soon as the little man comes home, strip him down and throw him in the bathtub.
It's not a bad idea.
Because Emily says, for those listening, you guys are probably predicting this better than the school board. Duh. The only reason why I'm asking is because nobody knows what's going to happen, even the teachers. So at this point, only the psychics and the powers that be have any idea. Yes, and if we look at historical data, this is stepping out of the psychic realm and stepping into the Aeson Knight realm.
Yes.
We look at most plagues last 2 years. The
Spanish flu.
Yeah, Spanish flu, influenza of 1917 lasted all the way up to 1921. So guys, we're in this for the long haul. It's like that, that's why I think it's important to start switching business models, switching onto more online presence. Um, I think the vaccination rounds now we need to be taking as soon as you can get one, because as you see, there is now 5 variants of this virus. Now, if we think of the flu as an example, there's at least 12 versions of the flu.
There's hundreds of versions of the common cold, and there's actually 12 is a very, very modest number. I would actually, because I remember actually in nursing school we were talking about this, and there was, I think the number she gave me was like 24.
Okay.
But the point is, there's like an obscene number.
When did you go to nursing school?
I went to Roane Jackson Technical Center.
When?
Because
I graduated in 99.
This was 2007.
Yeah, so that literally, look at the span of teaching there.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's, it's had time to change. That's why they tell you to get the flu shot every year, is because that flu is mutating every year, and they're taking the virus that is most common and setting up a vaccine to it. That's why once you've had the flu, you're not necessarily immune to the next wave, which is one thing I think we're going to run into with the COVID starting to mutate. That's the word I'm looking for. With it starting to mutate, we're probably going to have to take multiple vaccinations against it. And you know what? Considering I'm kind of on the line about people going back to school. On one hand, I've had to be out in the pandemic, and I don't want to hear it because I've had to be out in the pandemic. On the other hand, it's a cesspool.
Right.
There is no way to have the number of students that schools are, recommended for. What's the word?
Well, they're overpopulated to begin with. Most classes when we were in school was 20 to 30 people, at most 40. And now they're like 32 and 44 people in a classroom? No. And Emily, great point there. Soap, cleaning, keeping things clean. And we have that left over. If you think of the Depression generation that we're losing and their children, you will notice they were super weirdly clean. Like, Meemaw used to bleach her chicken.
Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer. So what lasting effects do you think that we're going to see coming out of COVID? Because there's always lasting effects, i.e. the white gloves were left over from the Spanish flu.
There's always going to be, I think, masks for one thing. There's always going to be a back and forth about masks from the now until the time, at least until this generation starts dying off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be a thing. I also think that this shift towards the virtual world is going to be semi-permanent, which kind of breaks my heart in one way because I do really love events. But also, I think we're really starting to see that we can have an event here. Like this live stream, in theory, somebody in Australia could be watching it. So they're able to
large bases of India.
Right.
Podcast-wise.
The one thing I would like to see come out of this pandemic is a renewed love of small businesses, because they're the ones who got hit the hardest, and so they got more attention. And I would love to see, the blacksmiths, the artists being able to get their stuff online, start to build that online presence, and really see the online marketplaces, the small online marketplaces, like the Facebook group I started.
Well, tell them about that, because we've got a few Facebook groups been running since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So tell them about yours. What's its goal? Its mission?
Oh, okay. So the name of the group is West Virginia Art and Spiritual Market, and really, it's a place for small business. If you own your own business, I'd really like to see like blacksmiths and painters and crocheters. If you make something by hand, I want to see it. It's got a listing section, And then also like a discussion section, because I posted there, it's only like 2 days old right now, but I've already posted things. I want to do like a weekly discussion so that the buyers and the sellers can get to know each other. Like, what, as sellers, what are you looking for? You know, that sort of thing. I want to see, I want to see people who've been just randomly posting through the year on Central Pagan Pride. We had that whole day that was just for merchants. If we could get a place to put all those merchants, they can come and list their wares on one side and then have discussion on the other side of the page, that group, that's what I want to see. I want to see, all our tarot readers, because I have a real job, so I have not really been negatively affected. But some people who are not as internet savvy as you are and don't have real jobs outside of this like I do are going to need people to help them with that outlet. So if I can create that space for people who just like stuff and people who have got the stuff to sell them, that's what I want to do. I'm a merchant brat. Like, I was a merchant brat. My dad sold swords out the back of a minivan. So that's the part of the plague that hit me the hardest.
And I think it's really great that you've started that. I've got the Pagan Nexus for West Virginia, which is a network of us banding together because I got tired of a lot of pagans that need stuff and other pagans that have stuff and nowhere to communicate. Like, oh, I've got a bunch of jars. Please come get these jars. I will set them on my porch. They'll be gone whenever you get them.
Right.
Or networking and working with issues, because we have things pop up in the pagan community and there is no central network. There's this little pod and that little pod and this little pod over here and that little pod.
Yes, there's like 1,000 little groups.
Right.
And I know that I'm personally part of like 10 West Virginia Wiccan groups. I'm like, I didn't know there were that many pagans in West Virginia. Why do we each have our own group? Because I understand having our own Facebook page, but like, I know that Gwendolyn, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. She's got like 3?
Well, she's got 3 different missions. So yeah, she has like 3 different groups, but also West Virginia, because, one's the pagan calendar, which I love. Then she has the Roman Temple of Light, which again, I love. They're a lovely group of organizations. If you're looking for information and a team that, a coven that you really want to work with, that's a cool one. So yeah, we have the Nexus website, Facebook group. Emily, thanks for the idea. I will write it down. Of a Nexus site, like you can go and create your own profile. That is a lovely idea.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that way we aren't filtered, because social media does filter. I know at one time I was doing like Monday this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, Thursday this. But then when I went and looked at my sock account that shows me what everything is going on, nobody was seeing it. So I stopped doing it because no one could really see it unless they went in there to look at it.
Right. I would really like to see like one gigantic, well-developed West Virginia pagan site. The only problem with that is that it's, number one, everybody would have to equally advertise it. It would have to be like, we have did you know, like, we've got a whole different section, we have got a whole different coven in Sutton.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Hangman House?
Yeah.
The only way I learned about it was because they had a house party.
Is that the Huntresses?
I believe so.
Yeah, they're actually based in Mount Hope, honey.
Mount Hope. Okay, well, I don't know where. I just know I know the house inside the
Yeah, the Heyman House.
Heyman House, yeah.
Yeah.
I know they go hang out in the Heyman House. Like they rent it out every now and then.
Yeah, Huntress. Anyway, I know the two Huntresses. They were former students of mine, and they're doing so wonderful. But no, I like that idea. I will actually take that to my designer and see what he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would help her. I would help promote that and participate in some place where, we may have different threads, but it's all in one place. Like, do you remember Witchbox?
Yes.
Is it? I don't even know if it's still around. It's been a long time since I've been on there.
Right.
But, everybody's kind of moved away from the individual websites to Facebook,
Well, and the reason for, of course, Witchfox and everything else, I kept them all running with my stuff. But a lot of the newer generations isn't used to that, or pagan spaces or things like that, because it's
Right.
all used to being filtered in. Um, but
They use a few really big sites,
yeah, but again, and hi Shannon, welcome to the table. Grab a cup of coffee. It's to the left, creamer's on the right, cookies are in the back. No, I don't want to hear any complaints about them being burned. But that would be fun. And it's like and I've never gotten this. And people say, and outside people always say, "Oh, well, why do you hang out with all these psychics if that's your business?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we do. That's how we interlink. That's how we go. Oh, you're having a problem with scheduling. Oh, try Audacity, or
Yeah, I
this
have every
work.
intention of picking your brain for websites to advertise on later.
Yeah, please do."
I did go to the ULC seminary.
Mm-hmm.
I started one of their courses. Unfortunately, I paid the money, and then I haven't been able to get a hold of a human to tell them that I have not gotten my book in the mail. I ordered it in mid-December, and I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, that's Amy Long that you'll need to get a hold of. And see me afterwards, and I'll give you her email address. I think it's in my address book.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do that because like I said, I got the WV Witch Fox. Yes, a WV Witch Fox.
Well, we'll have to check. Before we start naming anything, I'll have to have the copyright engineer go through and copyright.
We're running our own forum board. Yeah.
Right. And we've advanced that to being groups and working in groups.
You know what? One thing I do like about Facebook, I hate to say this, but yes, they do monitor. They absorb some of the liability.
They don't. Section 232, they have no liability. They absorb the back house. That's the reason Parler is now no more, is because they are Section 232. And with Section 232, the big social medias aren't liable. That's why, the FBI didn't show up at the CEO's house and arrest him. It's the publishers that have the liability.
Right. But they do monitor things. Like they keep
monitor, yes, they do. And they will take down and remove and go, "Oh, I don't think so."
Yes, they will. That it's as useful as it is annoying.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Well, it's useful because it's great, but also, I know for me, I go through like posting bazaars where I'll post like 30 TikToks. Without that monetization and that algorithm, would swamp like one of my viewers' pages with, "My God, he's on a posting bazaar because he's gotten in a mood and feeling cocky and is making all these TikTok videos."
Right.
Which are on TikTok.
Yeah, and I haven't figured out how to. That's one thing I would like to find is something that would post my stuff where I could just set it up and do it for weeks. Because I can do that with my YouTube videos because YouTube has that structure. But
Right.
like TikTok, I know Facebook, I can sit there and schedule posts, but it does get to be a bit much if you're trying to make. Because I got a real job too.
Right.
And that's one thing is like everything I do is Dottie the Psychic. I have to be able to do my work first,
Right.
And I'm getting ready to go back to school, so like time
management will be key for you.
Yes, time is a finite resource.
It is, but it's made up resource. And that's what people don't get also is the spirit world. When will something happen? And my God's like, "Oh, it should happen after this or this." And I'm like, okay, let's figure out how long.
You know what? That's something I've noticed. Like as a psychic, like people want a time frame. Like, is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be 3 months? Bitch, it's going to be when you learn your lesson.
Yeah. And Shannon, I do. This is my planner. This is 1 month of planning. Yes, 1 month.
I do feel you on the whole time being a made up thing. Like, The gods can wait for an eternity. I've got 10 minutes.
And, for me, it's like I live in a 30-hour day instead of 24.
The bane of being your own boss.
It's not the bait. It's actually the gift and the curse. The gift is I can do what the hell I want when I want, as long as my appointments are made and everything else is handled, and I'm on network by the time I've said I'm going to be on network to my clients.
Right.
The withdrawal is that is like, oh, you're an independent contractor, you don't have employees. Well, you don't get this, and you're not available for that, and you're not available for that. And because you decided that, you don't have the tax benefits of an LLC, so you're not an employee either. You don't get this either.
So you're not an LLC?
Lord, no. I don't get the tax benefits of an LLC.
You know what? I actually get a hold of me afterwards. I got a friend who, like, her job, she's an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
She set up my LLC for $130.
Right. I mean, it's cheap. It's like my state and business and all that license is like $45, but the tax benefits to it wasn't beneficial to me. Because then you have to pay the accountant to file your quarterlies. You have to pay the accountant to write your paycheck. You can't just go out to Walmart's and buy paper. You have to have a business account, then have 2 signatures from the board. I mean, it's insane.
It can be. I mean, mine, she just did the paperwork and handed it to me, and now I can set up a business. I'm going to set up a business because as long as it's a sole propriety, as long as you're the only employer, then it's almost like you can still use it as your own account, which I do see. Like, if you've got it set up, it seems to be working for you. But this is what works. This is what's working for me right now. Dottie the Psychic is a business.
Right. And it's like I've wanted to set up a nonprofit for a while for Beltane Forest and possibly Calling of the Tribes, which we'll see if we get that off the ground.
Let's see if we can. I mean, really, we're still waiting for this vaccine to roll out. Let's see how long.
It's not.
I miss people.
I know it's not looking good for Beltane. I'll go ahead and put it out there. It's not looking good for Beltane. But I do have another one that I'm working on. That is called Calling of the Tribes, and it's just a background picnic.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and that will be after it's safe. Because you can't exactly have Beltane in the middle of September, guys. Sorry. I can float a little bit, and I keep moving it because I'm old, and when I'm cold, I'm grumpy, so I keep moving it to where it's warmer. But
you can't do Beltane in September.
We cannot do Beltane in September.
What is in September?
September is Lunasis.
Lunasis, yeah, that's the one I can never pronounce, and I have no idea about. Like, I've been practicing since I was 16, and I never really got in tune with the holidays. I know Samhain, which I still pronounce Samhain because I learned it out of a book.
Right, but even that's a movable date because it's October 31st or the 4th or the 7th, depending when it's 15 degrees. Sagittarius or Scorpio, don't quote me. So it's movable there.
How is the Crystal Lotus going to go nonprofit? I thought it was a...
They are starting a nonprofit.
Oh, they're starting a nonprofit, yes.
Yes.
But they're not going nonprofit. That's, I think they were doing like a school thing, like they were doing an educational center.
They are going to do a holistic education center and try to provide services to the community. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff, and I hope they do well with it.
I really do too. I really, really like that shop. I haven't been there since I walked in there the day after I got my clean bill of health.
Mm-hmm.
I was still feeling unwell because that was one thing when I had COVID. I mean, COVID does damage to your body. You are still in a funk well after you are not contagious anymore. Like, so I went in there, and that was the last time I was there, and that's been early December, so.
Right. I think I went down for Halloween, and that's the last time I've been down because that's the last time the numbers were right for me to even leave the house. Beltane in the Forest is a festival that I have hosted for about we would be going on our 15th year this year, but again, it's not looking good with the way the numbers are and the vaccine rollout. And I refuse to hold it. Like, I'm sorry. I know other people are doing events. You know, I love going to events. I love doing events. I love even producing events.
It's a good event. Like, I remember Beltane in the Forest was actually my first Dottie the Psychic event.
Cool.
2016.
Yeah. And I enjoy doing them.
2017.
But I don't want to be then 2 weeks later having a mass crossing ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not. It's just not. Yeah. Beltane, okay, so Beltane in the Forest is the event. Beltane is the holiday that celebrates the rebirth of the god and the goddess being renewed. Or no?
No, it celebrates the marriage of the god and goddess.
Marriage of the god and goddess. Okay, that's sorry, I got it confused with Imbolc.
Yule's the birth of the god.
Okay.
Imbolc is the return of light, or the releasing of Bridget from the Caliac, or a few other things. It depends on what dogma you're following.
Beltane's the sex one.
Yes.
That's the way to remember it. It's an important one.
Yeah.
It's the sex one. God.
Yes. But again,
learn it out of a book, y'all.
Yeah. But again, it's not looking good. They're going to have to do some. COVID's going to have to like move out of the country and like go live on a little uninvaded island for us to have Beltane.
You know what? Because I went to the. I actually did a video about it, and I was nervous about doing it. I'm still not sure how I feel about what I did. I did go to the Charleston Pagan Pride event that was held in. Yeah, it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I really needed it. Like, I couldn't stop myself from going. Like, it's a live event. I'm always one of the big things I try to do with Dottie Psych is not just to promote myself, but to promote my community, to promote the community. You know, that.
Right.
I think isolation is dangerous. It's what's required sometimes. The lesson of the mountain is isolation. Mm-hmm. You only have in the void what you take into the void. But it's important to be able to reach people. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to promote, is that coming together, you know. Mm-hmm. That's part of why I've got 4 different commercials. Well, 3. I had to take one down. 4 different commercials for local pagan businesses because I want to see them all thrive.
Right.
And the vlogs for pagan events is to kind of bring people together. So there was one, and I went, and I'm glad there were no repercussions. I'm surprised I didn't get a whole lot of heat from that.
It's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If I had, I would have owned it. I really would have owned it because I shouldn't have. Right. I know, especially as trying to be a public figure, I also need to toe the line of wear your mask, especially considering I was formerly a nurse and I currently work community outreach. I have a moral obligation to promote hygiene in general, but yes, masks, safety. Mm-hmm. Public safety.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing with it. Charleston Pagan Pride, I like the dude that does it. Colin's the one that runs it. And he's made some choices, and he'll continue to make choices for his organization. But I'm going to say this, and I've said this 100 times, when Super Doc says to get your ass to bed, and boys take his laptop and his computer, they do that. When Doc says, you don't have to go hide in the basement or go lay in the bed, but I don't want you out. Yeah, Aeson's going to stay home. And right. I've gotten heat for staying home. Like, why aren't you out doing this? You're Pagan Man of the Year and yada, yada, yada. And, you have an office here. And it's like, my doctors told me no. And that's the only man I listen to.
I appreciate that, especially since we have so many people that... I hate to say it. Sometimes it feels like you're almost in an echo chamber of conspiracy. I'm like,
And we get that a lot in the New Age community. Like, we breathe the word conspiracy.
Oh my God, it was so bad. At one point, I'm like, I'm hearing the same conspiracy from like the right and the left. I'm like, you people are getting along. You just don't know it.
Right. And I
you
think
all agree on the same thing, but you don't know it, and it's all wrong.
right. And that is where I think we belong in the pagan community, is calling bullshit. Like, I love calling, at this point, there are three things in my world that I enjoy doing. One is calling bullshit to bullshit. Okay? Mm-hmm. Two is telling someone to go get a divorce, because then they can go and recreate their life. And three is telling people, quit your job.
I literally did the middle thing last week. I got a Facebook text, and I'm sorry, I am not great at putting names and faces and everything together. But yeah, when I was on the live stream last Wednesday with Throne Temple with Gwen, we had people who were asking for readings, and I'm like, doom depression, leave his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And they did, and I got a message on one of my things like, I did what you said, I feel much better. I'm like, it's sad that it's so common. I remember looking at this meme. It was one of those text kind of memes with a picture at the bottom. And like the first one is, I've sent her 17 signs that this is not the person she's supposed to be with. And then that's God. And then an angel says, but he texted her at 11:11. And then it's Jesus going, why? Just why?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, what is it? It's not a meme. It's a TikTok that does, don't do it. Don't do it. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. I done it. That's the way the spirit guides are sometimes with me, especially mine, because mine's a smart ass. Y'all guys hear a lot of David, but I don't talk about him a lot. Mm-hmm. He's a fucking smart ass. And I get calls or I get readings, and he's like, why the fuck is she with him? He don't look good. His dick ain't that good, and his job sucks. Tell her to leave him.
How do you know
say that?
I'm like, you know what? That's one thing a psychic is great for. I will say this, that we're the poor man's mental health. We're in a lot of ways
pioneers of mental health. In
a lot of ways, yeah. We're the archetype of mental health. You think about it, you go to psychic for it's a poor man's therapist. Just sit there, I'm going to lay out your life in front of you, and we're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's the type of readings I love. I love getting into, yeah, you're dating him, and you dated him, and oh, you dated him, and
they all look exactly alike.
Yeah, they should be brothers. Why do you keep getting this? Oh, it's because you have self-worth issues, and you're not taking care of yourself, and you've got a rescuer complex.
God. I feel called out.
I do that a lot to you.
Yeah, that called me right out. Like, that's exactly... I noticed it. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got free, and the first guy I had sex with was exactly like the very first guy I'd had sex with. So I'm like, the first guy after Brandon was like a mirror of the first guy I'd ever had sex with. And it was like almost nothing attractive about this guy. Nothing. Like buck tooth, poor personality, smelled like cheese. I don't know why I did it.
Because you're used to eating McDonald's and you're paying for steak, honey.
Right. My ex was not that bad. But like I definitely saw it, I'm like, no more. And that was the last time. That was the last time of that behavior. Like, which is part of why I have trouble on dating apps now, because I just need a little finesse. You got to have personality. I need some personality and hygiene. So, I've really started, I've not say that I'm more attracted to girls now, but I've been able to explore that now that I'm free. I've been able to really explore my pansexuality, and I realized I finally understand what I'm truly sexually attracted to. Employment and hygiene.
Well, honey, I think that's most people's attraction. I mean, you know, I have to say, you know, I've got the three F's on people's opinions of what I do. And, you know, in the dating world, I've got the three F's too. They've got to find a job or have a job. They need to at least be focused on their own selves. And the other F is they've got to at least be able to, you know, do something.
Something. I need a little help here. Yes, I know, I get you. No, I don't want no scrubs. Scrubs, the guy can't get no love from me.
Do you realize that could be playing on an oldie station? And thank you for keeping it under 30 seconds.
Ow.
I know.
Ouch.
I know. I got hurt by it too, honey.
Oh, right here. You did call a grumpy tank made 4 times more money from his stream this month than last month. Woot!
Yes, he's doing awesome. You know, and we need to make sure we're filing taxes on that money. We need to make sure that his business owner is owning it and got copyrights on all of it. And we got to get his merch up. I mean, when I got into this business, and maybe when you got into this business, you needed a deck of cards, a business license, and a checking account. It's all you needed. Now you've got to have, I'm working on building merch. I'm teaching classes. I'm doing videos. I've got PR all over the wazoo. I'm writing a book. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm like, I think I need another assistant. I have 2. I think I need a 3rd just to handle like the merch stuff.
If you can afford, I mean, if they're bringing in what they're, you know, they're bringing in what they're worth, and hell yeah, a good assistant is indispensable.
Exactly. And
unfortunately, I am not to that level. Someday when this is my only job, that's my dream. This is like my dream. I keep thinking the magic number was 3 years. But 2020 is just a mulligan. It doesn't count. So I've been set back a year.
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to figure out. It's like I want to get YouTube because that's my high art. Those videos are my high art. So I definitely want to get them stable and then start filling in the blanks. Like the TikTok I've decided is behind the scenes, and then the Facebook is where I post all my stuff so you can find it. That sort of thing. I've got a Patreon, but it's like nobody's been to it. I've promoted it in nearly every video until last month.
Commentary on that? You want some commentary on that?
Sure.
Commentary on Patreon. Don't make it your focus. I have amazing Patreon members. I give them amazing benefits to me, including readings and stuff. But I make sure to post it on Facebook and things. You know, we're going to run the title here in a minute of it because we'll be wrapping up in a little bit. And I love your YouTube, but don't be paying to have it sponsored.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah, because you were popping up sponsored for me a few times, and I'm like, girl, are you burning through YouTube money?
No, that's where they've started putting promotional stuff on people's videos.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not. I would run ads. I wouldn't have. I mean, I'm not morally opposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting nothing from those because I'm not part of the partnership. You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Right now, I've got 190 subscribers. So, you know, y'all go subscribe because when I hit 200, I'll do the happy dance for you.
And I won't do the happy dance, but if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button on the channel you're on, because yes, I do run this on 2 YouTube channels. And then go and look at the other links in the bottom and subscribe to those. And then go over to Facebook and follow us over there. And then once you're done with all that, I'd love a comment on any video you're watching so that it goes up.
And if you're looking at me, for me, it's DOTTIE, the psychic.
Yes, which I'm hoping you've copywritten.
No, but apparently the rule of the land is still has to do with the longest use. So even if you don't go through the whole copyright process,
Mm-hmm.
if you can prove that your logo or your material has
Mm-hmm.
existed for a certain amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
then whenever the first time you can really prove that you used it is kind of where it starts with the poor man's copyright. Not that it's not a good idea to copyright, and I will probably be, as things go on, I'm probably going to look into it. Like
Yeah.
the more real it
Copyright your
becomes.
name, copyright your catchphrase. Like, mine is relationships aren't microwavable. Copyright, get your .com because you don't want a Chinese company selling spatulas on, DottieThePsychic.com.
I do have my website, but I haven't, like, it's right now it's not connected to the work I've done. I'm thinking about moving it because it really wasn't getting any traffic
Okay.
because I'm mostly on YouTube and like it's still my network is still small. Like it's one of these days I'm gonna wake up and have 1,000 subscribers, but
Right. And when you do 1,000 subscribers, what are you going to do for it? Like, I'm going to do a 3-hour live read.
I really haven't thought that far. I'm thinking about doing a whole gratitude video because every time I hit a landmark, like I hit 25 subscribers at 50, 75, 100, 150, I did like a gratitude dance.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've been thinking about doing a YouTube video, and I wondered your thoughts on this because, I'm sure we're going to have different views of this. But doing a YouTube video talking about some of the YouTube tea.
I would not do it on your regular channel. If you want to start a channel for that, then go ahead, but make sure that you have a way of separating that from everything else you do because those are the bitches that get the real hate. It's like those are the channels that have people showing up to their house.
Uh-huh. Let them show up.
Yeah, like those and the political channels are the ones where people are really, they will just randomly show up on your door trying to kill you.
Honey, that's a Tuesday for me. I hate to say it. I've had a stalker for more than 20 years. Really bad love spell gone backwards.
That's a relationship right there. Relationship goals.
But, it's one of those, I don't know. I'm going to poll my Patreons to see what they think, if they are even interested in it before I go into it. But there's been a few people that have called it like, oh, we need a tarot reader to tell us what's going to go on in this situation, what to go on that situation. And I've been like, fine, I can do that. I like tea. I like watching tea. I'm not sure I want to get into tea.
I can't. I can stomach this much, and it's usually because it's tacked into something completely different. Like there's a couple of tea channels I watch. LGBT community tell-all kind of things, and I can really only stomach somebody talking shit about somebody else so long, unless I've got a personal problem with the person they're talking shit about. Like, if you do something to play, I'm one of these people, like, until you give me a reason to talk shit, I don't.
Right.
I'm trying to, spread the love and light.
Yeah.
The moment
I'm done with love and light. I'm into coffee and nicotine.
Right. I mean, yeah, but the moment you piss on my parade, it's on like Donkey Kong, be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then, I don't know. There's just other ideas. Like I've started Power Saturdays, which is this Saturday coming up, where you get a reading from me for $20 for 15 minutes, which is a discount. But if you're a Patreon, you have a discount code. Or if you know one of my affiliate shops, contact them for their discount codes. And you can get even a bigger discount than the $20 discount. And it's just me taking back some of the stuff I've done for years and going, I have time to do it. Let's do it.
Right. Yeah, you know what? That is one thing that's come out of the pandemic is that because I've not been out and doing things every week, I've paid more attention to things that were closer to home.
Right.
So I realized that because I lived out in Jackson County pretty isolated for way too long. It was kind of that whole mess. So one of the things I kind of learned to do and that I can still do is keep my own company. And I realized that that's a skill that it's an actual skill. It's not just a product of damage, but being able to keep yourself entertained is the skill of successful people.
And it's important. A lot of I don't know, my 2021 is going to be focusing on building the Aeson Knight Incorporation brands. You know, Aeson Knight, Aeson Education, Aeson Life Coaching. And I think that's what my 2020 is going to be at. So what's your 2020 looking like?
Right now, I really get the feeling, because I kind of realized that I started this job was part of my soul contract, because what I've learned for life skills, I've used my psychic abilities more as a nurse and as community outreach to do more good than I ever could just turning cards at a table, because people will walk off and forget that. People are not going to forget the nurse that saved their life or help their family member at the end, you know. But I feel like that contract is coming up for negotiation. Because the deal was that I was going to stay where I was until I was completely disposable. Till the business was up and sturdy on its own. Because I did a lot of work for this business. I believe in this business. But I'm not talking about it. Office drama, blah, blah. I've been laterally demoted, not so much because of my skill or ability, but because I was good at that position and somebody was hired who was better at the position above me as we started to grow people. Like, because when I started out, I was like the administrative assistant. Well, when there's only one of you, there's not a whole hell of a lot to administrate. But I was handling... I was handling my profile. I was handling staff profiles. I was handling, I had a full client load. That's unrealistic to have. You can't do HR and casework. You shouldn't be your own boss in that situation. You should never be over your own work.
Right.
So it would make sense to hire somebody. Right.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to hire somebody who has office management experience than it would be to try and take the 6 months to retrain a community engagement specialist, even though the community engagement specialist, in theory, is more disposable. So eventually, when I am completely disposable there, my psychic job's going to take off, and I'll be able to support myself off of, YouTube and Patreon and TikTok and Facebook and readings and things like that. And I actually recently did a road opening ritual that has really, I'm going back to Marshall. Because I really like to get into film editing. I really like editing my videos. So I'm going to be taking more things that have to do with that. Like I'm an entertainer. So, and I feel like that's going to be my 2020 is making that transition. I'm really, really hoping that's what happens, because I'm supposed to be taking a trip to New Orleans in August, and I think that's going to blow my channel up.
Hopefully. I hope it does. I think it'll be great. So what is your made it moment?
My made it moment will be when I can go, because this is like the moment I'm going to transition. When I'm making enough from the social media to support myself for 3 solid months, then I'm going to quit my job. And that's when I know I made it. When I can leave the 9-to-5 rat race behind and never have to get... I have had way more than my share of piss in my shoe. Like, literally, that is not a metaphor. That is not a metaphor. People have peed in my shoe. And when I can go a whole year without having it happen to me, I will know I have made it.
That's a good bar to have. That's when I left my job, is when the business was so much that there wasn't, I couldn't go to work because I had appointments. Sorry. I'm going to run. I've got 20 clients in line. Bye. But I think my new made it more moment, hi Sherry, is when I am able to,
Orange
I
peel.
think,
Sorry.
huh?
Orange peel. That's why I'm like,
You huffing some success, are you? But my made it moment, I think, will be when I open the brick and mortar. Because, I have my offices, but I want my own office. That will be my made it moment.
right. Everybody. I've always kind of dreamed of the brick and mortar shop, but
Oh, no,
I
I don't
don't
want
know.
to shop. Shop
Huh?
ain't it. When I have an office, when you look at the door and it says Aeson Knight Psychic Readings, that's my made it moment.
Like, do you think of in another place, or like you own, like you're renting the whole office space, like you got it on the front door to the road?
Front door to the road.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
Yep. So.
I'd also like to be able, like, when, honest to God, like, I would really, really like this to at least be a self-sustaining hobby at the now. Like, that's the first goalpost. Like, that ultimately, like, that will be the glory moment. When I can leave the rat race, that will be the glory moment. But I've got a million little postmarks before that I will be ecstatic to reach. When I start to get actual steady income of any sort, even if it's $10 a month. I got one friend who gives me $1 a month on Patreon. That was a phenomenal thing for me to have one person give me $1 a month. That was like first goalpost. But like when I start to get, as the business starts to support itself, because you can making YouTube videos, equipment costs money, costumes cost money, wigs cost money, and in the immortal words of Leonard Skinner, oh my God, I forgot I had this quote earlier. What I give does not bother me. But also, it would be nice if it would be at least self-sustaining. That's my first real goal mark. When things become self-sustaining, I will be very excited.
Right. And that takes work. And you'll get there.
Yeah. I put in the work. I've never been scared of work. Like, if you look at my channel, I had something like 30 some videos last year. Those were just videos. Like, that didn't include the live stream. So I didn't miss very often. Yeah. Especially not in the last, I think 6 months or so. Really, since the pandemic hit back in March, I really, because I had put it down for a minute. But since the pandemic, I've been trying to get a video out a week. I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to profiteer off the plague and get my branding out there.
Well, and you need to work. Everyone needs to work on their branding and making sure their brands are in things and the watermarks are on things and understanding like contracts and copyright and all that.
So I know it's distracting as shit, isn't it?
No, it isn't. It was looking really nice. What'd you do, girl? Don't you have Aquanet? I'm just sitting here going, it can move? What have we done to you? There we go.
Look.
Yeah. We've got to introduce you to Aquanet, honey. She is a wonderful friend.
I got, what kind of hairspray? I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this. Like, I came home from work and was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to death hawk my hair. I'm tired of this. I'm going to go do something else. So I didn't get it up. I didn't spray it I was thinking about halfway between like the blade and the death hawk. And I've been playing with it. So like, even I don't care how good your hairspray is, if you constantly got your hand in your hair, eventually your hairspray is going to break down.
Never touch the hair, honey. Never touch the hair. You know, it's like you don't touch your makeup and your face. Like whenever I was doing this do not touch your face thing, I was like, if everyone wore makeup, they'd already know this fact. You don't touch your face.
I'm still working on being a girl.
I know.
The whole makeup thing.
Uh-huh.
I have only since I started this job, so pretty much for like a year and a half, I have actually started making a concerted effort to wear makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Before I never did.
I know. And I'm like, you wear costumes. Honey, you should have your makeup game down.
I'm working on it. I'm working.
You're doing well. You're doing well. I hope you have took my suggestions. They're not criticisms. Well,
okay. So here's the thing. Like that day I showed up. Number one, I was sick on that live stream.
yes, you were.
I was sick as a dog. Number two, that was supposed to be a historical makeup job. That's the thing that, like, I don't think read between the web camera and the fact that I was physically ill. But that was actually supposed to be like a 17th century style Amadeus almost kind of look, you know?
Mm-hmm. So you needed a lot more clown white.
You know, lead white.
Yeah. Use clown. We don't need you getting metal poisoning and your intestines, transferring into goo.
Right. I mean, you thought about this. The primary signs are madness and baldness. I'm like, it's going to be a long damn time before anybody realizes there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. But no, your videos are fun. They're entertaining. I give you that. You're great at entertaining. You're doing great with the makeup. And we just need to call China and have them ship you real hairspray.
I did get some hairspray. My wigs are fine. Like those I spray the shit out of, but like my hair I just didn't I only got halfway.
Honey, I've seen some of them. They move. Real hairspray on a wig shouldn't move. That wig should stand up and be really strong with I ain't moving in a hurricane. There is a video out of Lady Bunny in a hurricane, and her wig doesn't move an inch.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, that is Aquanet City.
Damn. Give me some of that. Look, I only recently learned that you should wash your wigs with fabric softener. All my clothes smell great because I started using fabric softener all of a sudden.
Do you also know to take a brand new wig out of a bag and beat it up against the wall like a bad rug?
No, I did not.
Yes, that way it stretches it out and you don't have any stretch when you're styling it.
Ha!
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a try next time. See, I've been watching a lot. I've been watching for wigs? James Mansfield. I love her stuff. Like she talks about classical looks and she always she likes to do her hair big.
Mm-hmm.
Like her hair is always grand. She does, she's talking. I want her to show me how to do like a triple stack. So 3 wigs.
Yeah, that ain't hard. You start with a short to do your base. Your second's a medium, that's your body, and your third is your long pieces that you style out.
Right.
Yeah. And don't forget the Walmart bags in between to give you puffy.
Exactly. Now, see, I did double stack a wig for Halloween. I had the black one I've been wearing that's kind of done up with the bunny ear thing going on. I don't know why it's still lopsided. I actually had a wig stand to do it on. Before I knew why they were lopsided, it's because I'm holding the head between my legs. But my mom got me an honest God wig stand for Christmas. So I don't know how it still came out lopsided, but it did. But that wig was the top half, and then I've got a gray wig. Actually, it's right here. Give it up. No.
Albert, give her the wig.
Like this was the bottom half.
And
and then I had
fabric softener. That wig is thirsty.
It's $10 at Walmart. It's been thirsty. It was born thirsty. It's going to die thirsty.
Take and soak it about 72 hours in some Snuggle.
I might have to get that drop.
Oh, it's like costumes that you store, put gain fabric softener sheets in them. That way you don't have to have them re-dry cleaned every freaking time you go to pull them out.
I have not really gotten into the actual costuming yet. Like, I've got a few random Wish pieces, which I'm trying not to shop at Wish because, you know...
Please don't.
Yeah, just all the reasons not to shop at Wish. So I'm trying not to shop at Wish, so I'm trying to up my costuming game, like really learn about costuming. Because I'm also part of the Society of Craven Anachronism, and their whole thing is historical pieces. You know, basically pre-gunpowder.
Right.
16th century, or yeah.
16th, 17th, 15th and 16th century. That's 1600s and 1700s to the rest of us that speak English.
Right. Well, not just that, but I mean, they start out, like, the primary area is Renaissance and medieval period Europe. It's kind of where it started. But it's kind of evolved to everything pre-gunpowder. So, like, I've got a lot of people do... Like, I've got the Greek outfit. That's actually in my introduction video. I didn't make that for the introduction video, but I was like, this is great, because I always want to bring up the historical understanding of divination. It's like, if I'm going to teach about divination, I want to learn all about it. Take it to its roots. So that's where that started. So, like, a lot of those costumes, I already kind of know. I've got a resource for those. I've got friends and family that are more into than I am, so they can kind of tell me and guide me. But for, like, things like I want to do some sort of fantastic ball gown with the taffeta and everything. I'm like, I'm not sure how this works yet. I'll have to watch a YouTube video on it.
Well, what you do is you sit down with a piece of paper and you draw out your design. Then you take newspaper and you make your design out of newspaper. Then you go and buy really expensive fabric like taffeta and silk and lead beaded lining. You untail your masking tape of your seams. You cut that out. You sew it together. You put it on, and then you have someone else pin you into it and then sew you into it.
I really need to get a dress form because I'm not going to be able to talk anybody into doing that.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. I've made a few gowns. I've beaded a few gowns before. You know, have a few crowns somewhere in the attic.
I would like to learn. I'm starting at the point, like, I'm starting to get braver with the sewing machine. You know? Like, you can see this, like I said, I just dropped a C note. I gotta show you this fabric. I'm just gonna hold up a little piece of it.
I have something like that fabric. I didn't drop a C note on it.
Well, I didn't drop a C note on the fabric. That's just one piece of the outfit. I dropped a C note because I had to get the lining. I had to get stuff for it. I had the stuff for another coat. I'm waiting for. I had to get the buckram for the hat. This hat.
Okay.
Because I'm doing and this is all, like, this whole outfit I'm putting together is probably going to be in my Tessiomancy video for about 5 minutes. Like, I've been saying a minute and a half to be facetious, but literally 5 minutes.
Okay. So
well, I talk about
what are you doing with it after that?
Huh?
What are you doing with it after that?
After that, it's going to go into my special garb.
Okay.
My other historical costumes.
So a C note is $100, right?
Right.
Okay. So my opinion of that is you have to find 26 uses for it.
26. You know what? I can appreciate that. $4 a use.
Yep.
For only $4 a day, you can support my really weird costume habits.
Do we need to play Arms of the Angels? No, because it's copyrighted.
Oh my God. Every time I watch Luther, I can hear Sarah McLachlan pop up in the background. He's like a man going to his execution every single time. I'm like, if you didn't want a bath, then why'd you roll in something that stank? It stinks. You're getting a bath. He's like, dun, dun, dun.
Please. Mine, I just have to pick up and throw in there. Now, my cats, they jump in the bath. They enjoy a bath. My dogs hate them.
I swear to God, it is like, I'm like, do you want a blindfold and a cigarette before you go in there?
So, we talked about your funnest moments as being a psychic. What has been your hardest moment being a psychic? Mine is keeping my damn mouth shut.
Oh God, girl. That's my favorite part. You know what you know what? You asked me in reverse. Now I realize what my favorite part is, opening my mouth, because I love that part. My worst part, honest to God, is feeling like people just don't believe me. There's always this stressor, I guess, where like I'm giving them my all, and they've got these bizarre expectations, and they're testing me, and I somehow feel like I failed them.
See, and I don't know. I don't do well with that one either. Because when they start playing Test of Psychic, I'm like, I have already done more than 20,000 readings. See my feedback. I have already completed all these certifications and degrees and been vouched for and checked out by at least 3 PIs. I'm done being tested, especially at this rate, and I'll end the reading.
I have offered to give people's money back because they did. I don't know. I guess I didn't get the feedback from it. And sometimes I'll feel like that.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, yeah, I was testing you. You were right. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, I don't know. That's just a thing I run into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we all run into that.
Right.
My hardest part is when someone hasn't asked for a reading and David's like, oh, you really need to go talk to that one. There's a train coming. And I'm like, no, David. Yes, I am working. No. They have walked into this fair. They're enjoying their day. I am not going to give them a reading and remind them that they need to dump their boyfriend. I just sit in the corner and wait till I'm called in.
How many times? It's so stereotypical. It's like, it's a trope. It's a trope. They sit down, they're all giggly, they're in for some entertainment, and then you like literally splay their life out in front of them. I can't tell you how many times, like, oh yeah, you do readings? Well, sure, I'll read your cards for you. So you were molested as a child, and you're still dealing with the issues, and that's not what they sat down for. They didn't. Like, let's talk. You really wanted. I mean, I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm. But I try to get people to understand that no, we do not get the lottery numbers. If we did, we would play it ourselves and win it. And then we wouldn't be out here in the hot 90-degree sun or sitting at home locked up talking to clients. We would be enjoying and investing our money wisely because we could also predict the stock market. We do not get your middle name. You already know it. Spirit doesn't give a damn what it is this time because you'll trade it in later. We do not get, what color socks he is wearing, nor will you care if he's worth it.
Now, see, sometimes I get that question, and I'll just be facetious and I'll answer and be right. You know what I mean?
I've answered it and of course gotten it right, but at the same time, I'm like, you are paying. On average, most of my calls are 20 minutes. So 4 times 2 is 80. So $95, and you care what color socks your future boyfriend will be wearing when you meet him? Like, let's really get into discussion on what your challenges are going to be in that relationship. How you can already fragment them. Why you feel like you need to, take control of the relationship in a passive-aggressive manner that always blows up in your face. Let's work on your issues to make you more successful.
Right. Like, that's one of the things. People are looking for the silver bullet. They're looking for the pill. Let me just take a pill and make everything all right. But that isn't even how medicine works. That's not even how medication works. How is it going to work anywhere else?
Right. and the harder thing is they, and and I was very, very naive when I set out to do psychic work. I thought I would be having higher minded conversations sometimes of, yes, this is your sole purpose and this is why you are here. And, when you achieve that, then you'll be going through this, and then you're down here to be an explorer. So you're going to go over and do 100 different new things and explore a lot of things. And yeah, your love life's going to be sucky for about 20 years. And then you meet another explorer that you can actually interlink with. Yeah, that's why I now have jaded glasses on the world.
I did not.
That's what they taught us in metaphysical schools. This is how you do a life path reading. This is how you do a soul commandment reading. This is what you do with your karmic debt readings. And then you get out in the real world, and it's so much like nursing school. And I think back when you're like, yeah, you check the respiration and the blood pressure, and you do an oxygen pulse, and you do this and you do that every 4 hours. That's cute, but it doesn't work that way.
That's more accurate than I care to admit, because we'd have a lot of nurses a lot of RN nurses, brand new to the floor. I'm like, you've been an RN, which, yes, is a degree higher than mine, but you've only been doing it for a month, where I've been doing this for 2 years. Just because I don't have the education you have doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. Stop killing my client. That's not having that. We're switching conversations. Let's get back to the psychic. When I started really reading, I started reading at the bar. I started reading for my entertainment because these were bar folk.
Uh-huh.
I knew that some of these people I was going to save, but most of them I was going to do something to break up my evening and theirs. Like, okay, some of these people were too drunk to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times they'd sit down and, I was stuck being the only sober one at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing it mostly.
How you do that? I'm sorry.
What?
I can't read at a bar.
Oh,
I
yeah.
literally sit there and read at a bar, and I will drink coffee or Pepsi all night. And by the end of the night, I will get arrested.
Just can't help but tell a bitch how it is, huh?
No, I'll get arrested for drinking and driving.
Okay, it was so bad that the cops in Ravenswood knew me.
Uh-huh.
They knew my car, so even if I was driving erratically, they left me alone because they knew I was trying to get driving instructions from a drunk.
That's bad. So
it was bad.
My first reading, I don't think I've ever shared this one. My first reading. So as you know, my grandmother used to do readings, and she would type them out, and she would on occasion have people come over for readings. So she had planned to have a lady over for a cup of tea. That's what she called it, tea and silver, at 4. So before that, someone else shows up at about 3:30 for a cup of emergency tea. So grandma's got one in the dining, you'd go living room, dining room, kitchen. She has one person she's reading in the dining room and got technically double booked. So I took the lady and was like, oh, okay, I'm doing it today, honey. Let's go have tea and talk in the living room because grandma's busy with one back there. That was my first reading.
Oh, Lord. The emergency tea?
Yeah.
That had to have been fun.
It was enjoyable. She was a lovely woman. Her children were idiots. And I'm like 16 going, they're idiots. That's your problem. You're raising a bunch of hooligans. This one's going to jail. That one's already given you 2 kids. You got another one coming next month. And this one over here, well, honey, they're all special. But this one really, you might want to keep him on the front porch.
I think my very first reading because like when I was 13, one of my dad's friends gave me all these decks, and that was like the beginning of my psychic journey. So one of my friends was trying to show me how to read the cards because I had no idea. My parents weren't into that sort of thing. They were into spirituality. I didn't realize how much they were into it. They just were leery of cards. Anything that may be perceived of as being dark. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're very much into spirituality, but not the magic, so to speak.
Jennifer, I would say I was probably 16, maybe 15. Yeah,
That's a good age.
Yeah, we were still living in the house infestation, so 15, 16, because we all moved from there when I was 18. Yeah, so you started discovering at 13.
I was told at 13. Like, yeah. I always knew, I had the classic psychic thing happen. Like, not everybody, some people have, like, something happen, or they have a near-death experience, or they just really genuinely pick it up one day and just seem to, like, walk in. Mm-hmm. But, like, I had the classic experience. Like, I'd seen ghosts. Some of my first memories are of spirits in my doorway. Fast forward 13 years, and my dad's friend just gives me a bunch of cards. So, like, I'm trying to read I'm at a big event, because we sold swords at events. So, I'm at a big event, and I'm talking to another family friend, and she's kind of showing me how they work, and he freaked out. Gave her the cards, and, like, I traded like 2 decks for this one deck, and he made me give back the deck I traded for, took all my cards and put them in the closet till I was 16, and I demanded them back.
Interesting. It's the location of the house, Jennifer. It was at Fat Station. It's a little, now no longer a town. I think we may have froze there for a moment because we were like trying to figure out where we went next.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think the program froze. I think we had a
you
pause.
are hitting the Facebook let me fuss at you moment, so we're going to wrap up. But I want to kind of keep with a few things. Dottie, you have a cause of the month. What's your cause this month?
I do. Let's see. It's still January. So this month's cause of the month is Team West Virginia Fox. And what they do is it's a gaming kind of group. So you kind of pay to play, or they'll occasionally do like a live stream. They were big in events. So I don't know if they're doing anything this year, but if you go to like a gamer event, they'll be there, and, they marathon play for money for Cincinnati's Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That team is actually through Second Life, is the kind of the umbrella. So if you decide you want to do something like that, mm-hmm. and donate to another hospital, say West Virginia's, WU Children's Hospital or Women's and Children's, you can go to Second Life and start your own team.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. For us Dice Geek, that's, you get to marathon play a game and do something good.
Yep. Very cool. I'll have to check them out. Now, where would they find you to get readings? Because you aren't doing events. Can you do phone readings?
I do phone reading. Hit me up on my Facebook. I'm going to be trying to work on, because I'm going to sit down and actually, this week I'm planning on making an actual business plan, since mm-hmm. it's kind of, since the door is open and I'm trying to, when you do a road opener candle, you should really have some sort of plan.
Yeah, otherwise they'll open 400 roads for you, and it's like, okay, thanks for the green lights, but we're
stretching it. I'm still used to being lost. I'm okay with it. I'm still trotting down that open road, but I really do need a map.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to be doing that. But right now, if you want a reading from Dottie the Psychic, you can look me up on Facebook, YouTube. Let's see, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Facebook's where I'm going to do the reading. It's Dottie, the psychic.
Yep. And of course, guys, you can find me always at aesonknight.com or Aeson Knight on any social except Twitter. My Twitter is Aeson K. Yes, Aeson. I do have an Aeson Knight Twitter, but it's going to get merged here soon.
I keep almost making one because I keep reading about how important it is that. Oh yeah, about making a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to realize how important that is lately.
Well, what would you say to coming back next week and let's talk business plans?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. Let me make sure.
Double check with me. We'll get back, but I think we can pull Emily up and we'll do kind of a small business coffee chat.
That would be awesome. Like if y'all want to help me figure out my business plan and kind of review it, and I know I would love I would love to pick your brain for. You've got this whole social media, like you've got all the resources the internet has to offer.
Right. And that's what coffee chat is. So guys, if you want more coffee chats with Aeson, let me know. And you can do that by commenting below. And hey, Emily, can you come over Monday and we'll have a coffee chat with Dottie and we'll talk business and business plans? Let's start her on the spot.
You totally need that too, Jennifer. Yeah, man. That's something you wouldn't think about when you start a business. But yes, actually knowing how you plan on making money is probably a good idea.
Yeah. But again, this isn't the one you take to the bank. I'm going to talk working business plans. Because I have one of those beautiful business plans that you take to the bank, and it's been sitting in the file cabinet for 20 years. So we'll see about coming back next Monday and having a coffee chat. If not, I'll do a live and talk business plans too.
Okay, cool. Good. All right. Well, we'll tentatively schedule that, and if nothing else comes in the way, let me double check before I commit to it because I just.
Well, if not, it'll be live, and you can hop in too. All right. I will see you guys later. Bye, Miss Dottie. Have a good cup.
Right. I will be there. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Awesome. Bye, darling.